Yeah, I thought I might just point out a few facts that are freely available for anyone to look up on the internet or in the library or in any science lab or whatever you want, you know, wherever you want to find this information, it's easy. This is going to be about the proposed carbon tax that Julia Gillard now has put up on the table, where a year before this she was the only one that said under a Labour government there will never be a carbon tax. That's what she said. That's her own quote. It's not my opinion. And now you see they've created a carbon emissions committee. This is going to be the oligarchical sort of round table for the consensus. You're going to have consensus workers coming out soon, and they're going to be asking you, do you believe in climate change, or something along the lines of that. They won't be. Julia Gillard won't come in front of people and ask them if they believe in it, because she knows they don't. She's not open for debate about climate change, because every time anyone asks her about climate change, she refers it to the climate change minister. And when you see the climate change minister, he never wants to talk about it because it's government policy, and he doesn't talk about policy matters to the media. So it's all under sort of cloak and daggers and sort of behind closed doors. You know, you never really get the real information. You only get sort of like a tenth of the information they should be telling you. 90 other percent of it gets hidden. I mean, look, carbon tax. I mean, do we really need it? I mean, do we? If you think about it, right? Everyone on this planet, everything on this planet that's living or breathing or got some life mass about it has an element of carbon in it. And that's a fact, scientific fact. I mean, I can't make that up. That's stuff that's been taught for thousands of years. Like the ancient scientists knew that, you know. And then you think to yourself, if a carbon tax is to reduce carbon, then by proxy, doesn't that mean then to reduce carbon emitters, not emissions? Everything else will become clear later, but I'm just saying it's quite strange. And look, on the back of Copenhagen going belly up, because it's not because they couldn't reach an agreement, it was because information was leaked onto the internet that shouldn't have been seen by anyone else but the perpetrators of this fraud. And the university in question, was in East Anglia in Britain, and there were leaked emails between heads of the climate change movements around the world and the head climatologist, so-called scientist in East Anglia, and they were saying along the lines of, you know, we need to put out false numbers to lessen hysteria and all this sort of stuff. But then really, you think about it, if they did release the real numbers, none of this climate change stuff would have even started to happen, because the real climate change science has proven that in the last 15 or 16 years there has been global cooling, and that is on record that there's been global cooling. Anyone who calls for global warming still, I would call a fraud and a con trickster, because there is absolutely overwhelming evidence of the true number of anthropogenic global warming, so-called man-made global warming, that we contribute to, and the real figures, if you like to know them, are 0.1117 of a percent is what we emit. Sorry, no, 1.11117 of a percent. And there's 99.98 something, whatever, percent left, which is the emissions that the planet give off. See, in warmer months, there's more carbon emitted because it soaks into the ground. In the cooler months, this is what happens. This is the cycle of life. And once you see it in the summer, this is where you get loads of flowers and lots of grass and everything's green. You know. Obviously in Australia, you see it's all dry and it's all damp. It's meant to look like that because they put water restrictions on. They say there's water shortage. It's scarcity, mate. It's all scarcity. They're bumping everything up and telling you there's less of it. Where in point of fact, companies like Monsanto, companies that own all the seeds, have got massive seed vaults. Probably there's about 45 or 46 of them scattered around. And they're full of seeds. And do you know what they're giving us? They're giving us all the dirty, rotten things, like GMO and all the other crap. That's what they're giving us. You know, and this is what our government is there to do for us in the Green Revolution. Is to feed us GMO and get us to breathe all the stuff they spray in the hair. And don't believe they're not. Because of course they are. It's geoengineering. It comes all into it. It's all in this Green Revolution. You know, it's crazy. I mean, when you think in Copenhagen though, I'm going back to this, in Copenhagen, I mean, the leaders of the world didn't expect that. They expected everyone just to conform and everyone would say yes and la la la. But there were a few countries out there that said, that's a load of rubbish. I'm not going to do it. A lot of people believe that. In fact, well over 30,000 scientists now have petitioned Al Gore and subpoenaed him to go to court. And every time they try and get him to court, he doesn't turn up. But no one goes to get him. None of the police say, oh, he's in breach of contract or whatever it is. No one goes to get him. So, I mean, even the IPCC report of 2007, that was just full of misdirected numbers, and it was just full of errors. And even top scientists went through this report and said, oh my God, you know, some of the report was good and true and correct, scientifically correct. But most of it was just the mumbo jumbo you hear from all the other politicians around on the planet. I mean, the data models they use to get their figures of this massive hockey stick is the same data models that they created. They put the data in to make it look like there's global warming and tell everyone, oh look, we've got the data models to prove it, look, oh, there's a data model there, it goes like that, woo. You know? Well, you look at Al Gore's bloody video, An Inconvenient Truth, that stupid, ridiculous doco that he did. You know, that was taken to court, by the way, by Lord Christopher Monckton, and a very high-powered barrister. That it was one of his friends, and they took him to court. In fact, there was 35 errors, but they could only put forward 9 because they didn't have enough time to get all the evidence together. There was so much of it. And they took 9 to court, and the judge actually ordered, in order to stop this drivel getting to this scientific drivel getting to every single school in England, I rule that 77 pages of corrective guidance notes be sent to every school in Britain, because in Britain it is illegal to indoctrinate children. And that's his exact quote, because I've read it so many times I could read it off 100 times. So when you think of this, and you think of judge ruled that the video was misdirecting children and indoctrinating them to believe in climate change, when it was their God-given right as human beings, so to speak, to have their own free will and free choice and not be bestowed upon by everyone else. So, you know, it's the way it is. We're free human beings. We don't need people to tell us that we need to pay tax for breathing. And I especially don't need a politician who has not done 1 second of research into climatology, and she can tell you she has, but she has no idea what she's doing. She's getting advised by people who are corrupt and only in it for their ill gains. As soon as Julia Gillard starts to realise this, then she can also wake up and find out that things aren't quite as rosy as she thinks they are. And once she does start to wake up and realise that, then Australia will be such a better place. Because we don't need big government, tyrannical government, dictatorial government. We don't need any of this. All we need is the right to have a say, because we are the people that get you in, vote you in as Prime Minister and Presidents and all this. But we also have the power to take that away from you. So, you know, it's within your interest to do right by citizens of Australia instead of trying to railroad them into the way of the government. Because the government is the servant of the nation. We aren't the servants of a government. So you should realise that we have a good chance to take back what they're trying to make harder for you to do, and that's to be free and be individual. You know, because it's either individual or the collective. I call it the Borg. It's the Borg, you know. We will be walking robots, working and living for the system, for the tyrannical government that tells you what to do. No one was ever meant to tell you what to do. You know, that wasn't meant to be. Not like that, anyway. No one can tell you what to do. They think they can, but no, they can't really. They like to impose their power on you. They like to say, oh yeah, I'm the government, or I'm the policeman, you got to listen to me. Well, people seem to forget that they're human beings and they have a right to say no. No one has the right to order you to do anything. If you're not part of any army or police force or anything like that, then they have no right to tell you what to do. They have every right to protect you and serve you as a public servant, but they don't have any right whatsoever, although they like to think they can make up their own laws. That's not lawful. That's not constitutional for policemen to make their own laws. That wasn't in the Constitution. The government make laws and legislation. The police don't make their own laws, and they certainly don't be police commissioners in the House of Parliament. So, you know, you have to have separation of the three powers. Especially, there's not a fourth power, there's only three. We all know what they are. Executive, judicial, legislative. You know, it's easy, but what we're saying is you're trying to federalise everything. And we know that, I can see it, I don't have to be told. You know, you need to either make your mind up. I know where you want to go, but you're going to have a fight. That's all I'm going to say.